Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jason Tippy with the Crafted Edge. I am your host, along with my fellow co hosts, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Gentlemen,
Hey, I'm Don Watson from Florida. Welcome to the Crafted Edge.
How y'all doing? I'm J.W. Terrio, also from Southern Louisiana. Welcome to the Crafted Edge.
Okay,
was that everybody?
that
Mine
was
cut out there
everybody.
for a second.
That's the trio. You got the trio.
My apologies. I'm going to have to edit that out, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, that's who we are. Mr. Joey Terrio, Mr. Greatness of us all. He is
that's
going
right.
to read us our mission statement, and we'll explain that joke in a little bit. Mr. Terrio, go ahead, Bubba.
So, here at the Crafted Edge, our mission is to explore the intricate world of knife making. We aim to bring together a community of passionate bladesmiths, knife enthusiasts, and curious listeners. As we delve into the artistry techniques and stories behind the creation of finely crafted blades. Our podcast is a platform for celebrating the beauty of craftsmanship in all its forms, whether it be knife making, woodworking, metalwork, handle suppliers, industry vendors, or any other creative pursuit. We believe that the process of creating something with passion and purpose can be transformative, both for the artists and those who appreciate their work. Through engaging conversations, we seek to have expert interviews and practical insights. We seek to inspire, educate, and ignite the creative spark within our audience, fostering a deep appreciation for the skill, the precision, and the dedication required to shape steel into functional works of art. So join us on this immersive journey as we sharpen our knowledge, we share our experiences, and we uncover the secrets that lie within the crafted edge.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was written by the most eloquent, greatest author, Mr. J.W. Terrio.
That's right.
So let me explain this real quick. Why we're going to be calling him greatness from here till eternity. So we did a test run earlier today, and Mr. Terrio signed on, and his tag said greatness. So we figured, if that's what you're going to, apply to yourself, we might as well call you that. So that's where that joke's coming from, and that's probably never going to go away. In all honesty, so.
He's not going to let it go away anyway.
You're never gonna let me live that
absolutely
down.
not. No, we're
Never
gonna
gonna let me
live.
live it
We're
down.
gonna ride that
Oh,
horse
man.
till she dies. All right,
That's right.
and
That's
probably
right.
a little bit further. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I'd like to do, guys, and what we were wanting to do is, let's just introduce ourselves. We're wanting to tell you kind of who we are, where we're from, how we got in the industry, and that sort of thing. Mr. Don, you want to start us off?
Sure. Thanks, Tip. Yeah, I got started. I got my first look at making a knife back in 1987 by a man named Jim Small. He was a teacher out at
Yep.
University of Georgia, and he made a stock removal knife from start to finish. And then I just got hooked, but I didn't start then. I didn't start until it was June of 2021 when I made my first knife. So I'm going on 3 years making knives, and just I mean, it ain't stopped yet. So I've been having a lot of fun learning. I learn every day. So.
Yes, sir.
But I'm looking forward to the Crafted Edge to be able to share my experience of the few years I've got into it. But I do come from a background of a maker. I was a wood turner, traveled, taught in wood turning. Some of y'all might know about wood turning off, wood from the lathe. But other than that, man, that's my little history of makers. Go ahead, Joey. What you got, buddy? The greatness. Go ahead, greatness.
So for me, I probably started knife making probably a little before COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
And as cliche as it might sound, Forge and Fire was big. And, I got to watching Forge and Fire. But, before that, from an early age, I've always displayed a natural aptitude for pretty much all things technical and mechanical. So uh, I also come from a maker background. You know, prior to my former job, I was a welder. So I was always, working with steel, welding, always, creating. I was always fascinated by how things worked, and always possessed a real keen ability to always find the small details in things. So, and for me, this led to pursue education in those fields. But I've probably been knife making now a little about 4.5 years, maybe. And but just like you, Don, I'm constantly learning, always learning. My mentor, you know, I always like shooting ideas off of him, and he's someone that will always shoot it to me straight, and which is one of his characteristics, his attributes that I love about him. So, um, but
Who could
yeah,
that be? Who could that be, brother?
well, that would be our host, Mr. Jason Tipping.
Oh yeah,
Well,
welcome.
you've set the bar pretty low, to be perfectly honest. I don't know how much I'm going to help, but it's fun trying. I just hope I don't mess up your career. So
I doubt that, brother.
Yeah, I
doubt
doubt that too.
I will say one of the things that I've said about Mr. Terrio, greatness over there, is that this dude, for the amount of time that he's been making knives, he has got it down. His fit and finish
Yeah.
is beyond his years as far as being a knife maker. So that I, y'all talking about y'all are learning all the time. I'm learning from him, and he don't know that because I don't want his head to swell up too big. But he's a phenomenal knife maker, and you
Yeah,
just
he
can't
is.
deny that fact.
I'll,
You can't
I'll
deny
have to
it.
put
So,
Tip, I appreciate that, brother. But, if you keep doing that, my head does swell up. I'll have to put a gratefulness behind it.
the jokes keep writing themselves. This is going to be amazing.
I just had to do that. I had to throw that in there.
Oh, it just keeps getting better and better. Well,
No, but all seriousness aside, no, yeah, I constantly learn from Jason, and when I first asked him to if he would be my mentor, and I'm sure he was like, because we had just come out of a show and we had just kind of met each other, and so and I always loved his work, and I never had anybody I could really bounce stuff off and ask. And so, I'm sure when I hit him up on Facebook Messenger, hit him with he was like, who is this dude?
Who's this guy? Stop it.
I knew who he was. That's the thing. But that's what we're talking about here, guys. And I know Don and Joey will agree with me. That's the whole purpose of the podcast.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's it.
is to start building each other up and to pour into each other, because there's things that other people see, a fresh set of eyes. We always talk about that. And I'm still that way. I've been making for 15 years now, started in 2008. That's when I made my first knife myself. I was making kit knives before that, but it's all under the blood. I've repented, and I don't do that no more.
Amen.
But
Amen, brother.
I made my first knife from bar stock in 2008, and I was blessed to have a great mentor in Dwayne Duchesne, and still is. I still call him. In fact, I talked to him this last week, and I was asking him questions, because he knows more about most everything, not just knife making. He's a good man. He's a good father. He's a good grandfather, So, and between him and my dad, I had a lot of good insight into it. And then, of course, our industry's that way in a lot of ways. Our industry really, there's not a whole lot of makers that I've met that keep secrets. We all have our little tricks and little things that we do in our shop, however we use our tools or whatever. But, it's just, I think it's one of the greatest industries to be a part of because everybody does share their knowledge in a lot of ways. I guess my introduction, like I said, I started making in 2008. Went full time right after COVID hit, mainly because I got laid off.
Okay.
Didn't really.
That's a good time to
So
start.
so you were
like, hey,
forced
here we
into
go.
it. Yeah.
So I got laid off on Tuesday, and they made me drive an hour to go pick up my pink slip. It was amazing. But that Friday, I got a phone call to make a very special knife for a very special resident of Florida. Actually,
Really?
I'm not going
There
to
you
drop
go.
any names, but it was pretty cool. And we just felt like after a lot of prayer and fasting and seeking out counsel, this is the way to go. And so we've been doing it for the last few years, and it's been a ride. So,
Amen.
but we're excited about it and excited about what's going to be happening with this podcast. And
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
we hope everybody gains something from it and learns something from it. I know we will. We're going to be having some special guests come on the podcast pretty regular. We're going to have new knife makers. We're going to have some of the elders of the knife making world come on. We're going to have people from all aspects of the industry, from the CNC side of it and the production side of it to people that are forging by hand and doing all kinds of stuff, and then also suppliers and so I think this is going to be a good resource for all of us to be able to grow and to improve.
Absolutely, yeah. And I can see some engaging conversations once we have these guests, when we get to pick their brains
Yep.
Yeah.
and just kind of, get their story, get like Brother Don likes to say, get their testimony and
Yep.
just kind of hear where they're coming from and a little bit of insight to who they are and, what got them into knife making and,
Yep.
how they do what they do.
Yep. That's going to be interesting. It will be interesting because there's a lot of
Yeah.
people out there in the knife making world, but the knife making world kind of stretches out into your leather work, just like you, Joey. The
Yeah.
leather work you do is outstanding, man. I mean, there's some
Yeah,
really
I appreciate it.
outstanding, not just in sheaths. You make beautiful belts, and there's a lot of people out there in the leather industry don't make sheaths that much, but they do pocketbooks and all kind of stuff, man. This works of art. Yeah.
Yeah, and
What's-
so I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tip.
No, go ahead, bud.
I was just going to say, that's I follow that. That's one thing I'd like to do here on the Cat podcast is, maybe we get some people out there in the leather industry. That's because I follow a ton of guys on, and I mean their
Instagram.
work, on Instagram, and their work is phenomenal. I mean, just everyone keeps saying, "Yo, man, you looks awesome. You did a good job," and I'm thinking like, yeah, but I see like 400 mistakes. I see like 400 mistakes I did on it. But that's the thing about this craft and this trade is that you're evolving as a maker, learning from those mistakes.
Yep.
And I really
Absolutely.
think as a maker, it's how you rebound from that. How do you rebound from those mistakes, and how do you adapt and learn and move forward?
That's right.
Yeah.
Never quit.
Absolutely. One of the things that I'm excited about is we're going to have different sponsors for our podcast, and one of those I heard this afternoon. It's a rumor. I'm not going to have to confirm it, but I hear JW Leatherwork is going to be sponsoring us.
That's right.
By giving us, we're all getting handcrafted belts.
Ooh, there we go.
That
Now
was
that's
that
what
was my understanding. I'm gonna have to confirm that, but
Please do.
I'm super excited. If that's the truth, I'm super excited about my belt that needs to be a 42 length.
So I'm just going to go ahead and write this down because it sounds like JT Leatherworks is a sponsor of the channel.
Oh, we're doing it. Okay, it's JT Leather. My apologies. If you're
JT
wondering,
Leather,
that's Joey
JT
Terrio.
Leatherworks. JT.
That's Greatness. Mr. Greatness himself is sponsoring the podcast.
Greatness Leatherworks. No,
dude.
Hey,
I'm making a logo this week. It's happening.
Hey, I'd like to take a moment and anybody out there who's listening wants to go to our. I got an Instagram. I don't have a website yet, but you can go to Don Watson Knives on Instagram. Tippy, go ahead and give yours on your Instagram page or your website. What you got?
So Instagram is Tippy Customs. So is Facebook. I think we're on Threads as well. My website's tippycustomknives.com. I think. Let me double check that. Make sure. Don't be like me. Let me double check. It's tippycustoms.com. See, It used to be Tippy Custom Knives. That was my confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So my apologies to anybody that's listening. I did get hit in the head a lot in high school, in college, and a couple times last week. But I'm doing okay now.
You're doing good.
All right. We're getting there.
How about you, Joey? Tell us give us what your information, how people can go and see your work.
Yeah. So I'm on my social media. It's for Instagram. It's at Boot State Forge.
Yep.
And on Facebook, you can find me at Boot State Knives.
Okay.
I don't have a website yet. That's something I'm still working on. Hopefully this year I'll get that up and running. And as we do that, we can inform our listeners.
Yep. There you go. Yeah, I like.
Well, gentlemen, go ahead.
I was just going to mention a couple people that really helped me in the beginning. Back in 2020, that's COVID era. That was around October 2020. I seen my first YouTube video on how to make a knife. That's what really sparked it in me. From 1987 to 2020, around October, I seen my first video, and it was Outdoor 55. Joey, you know who I'm talking about, right? Outdoor 55.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then there was A. Lee Knives. You know A. Lee Knives, Aaron. Good guy, man. And then our own good friend and buddy, TRE, Eric Rivers. I just want to thank them for putting out the videos, and that really helped me get started in my journey of making knives. So,
between, like I said, as cliche as it might sound, Forging Fire, got me into this and got me, lit a fire under me, doing this. But yeah, absolutely. YouTube was a big source for information, when just starting off, because I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any other makers. And then, I'm browsing through Facebook one day and I see this Louisiana Custom Knife Makers Association. I'm like, what is that? And and I see everybody and at the time the group was just starting up. And so I see everybody posting these pictures of knives. So I just throw some, the first 10 knives I ever made. And Stephen, and so Mr. Stephen Prather is the president of that organization, and he hits me up back. He's like, "Nice blades, bud. Do you want to join?" And I'm like, "What is this?" So he explains it to me. It's an organization of knife enthusiasts and knife makers that are all of us, all the knife makers that are from Louisiana. And so I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And he's like, "Do you want to join?" And I was like, "Oh." And so I didn't kind of answer him because at the time I was doing something. And he texted me. He's like, "Well, you didn't say no." So, so eventually I joined and started meeting makers, because they had a couple of knife nights, and I remember one of the first knife nights I went to a local maker here in Youngsville, Louisiana, and started meeting makers, and actually met Tippy
There you
Yep.
go.
at that first night.
Sorry, I'm
night.
not better looking.
How long ago was that, Joey? How long
What's
ago
that?
was it? A couple years ago, wasn't it?
Oh man, that had to be about three and a half years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can always go back and give people, I feel like we need to give people the honor that's due. People like you said, Eric, and another one I forgot was Simple Little Life, man. Jason, Jeremy up there in Canada. He was another
Yeah.
big inspiration to me. He's another good guy up there. But yeah, just got to give honor when honor's due, and these guys that like Eric and them that spent the time putting videos out there, because in 1987, when I first watched this guy make a knife, it was on the PBS broadcasting system, which is Channel 3. There was no such thing as YouTube.
We did not have YouTube, Don. We
We
did
didn't,
not.
nope.
No.
And didn't have no cell phones either.
No.
No smartphones.
But no, I'm just glad I got in this craft. Back in 87, I remember looking at my wife and telling her, I said, one day I'm going to do that. Because I'm a big hunter and big fisherman down here. And I always carried a knife. And I said, it really intrigued me. And it just took, from there to, 2020 to when I seen that first video, I went, whoa, it just kind of, I told my wife, I said, you know what? I got to make that. I'm going to learn how to make a knife. She goes, well, whatever you want to do, babe. And so she supported me all the way. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I said earlier, Forge and Fire got me into making knives, but I think it pushed me to want to get into it.
Yeah.
It's not that I, because like I said, I've always come from a background of just, had an aptitude for just, being mechanically inclined and always working with my hands, always creating something. I grew up with my dad. My dad was a carpenter. So we, when other kids were getting off for the summertime, I was waking up going to work with dad, so, building homes and constructing working with wood and stuff. So yeah, it's been quite a journey these 4.5 years, but yeah, YouTube was a big inspiration. All those guys you mentioned, Don, I've watched their videos.
Oh yeah.
And I can't say that I haven't pulled away from watching those videos and have not learned something,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Uh,
How
I
about you,
remember-
Jason?
I remember Blade Magazine.
Oh man.
I didn't know there was a thing called, the custom knife world. And my dad had made some knives for his dad, my grandfather, and his brothers years ago out of an old saw blade. And I always thought that was just the coolest thing in the world, and I've always liked making stuff, and I usually just made a mess. But then it was a Christmas. It's the craziest thing. What gets you where you're at? I had a cousin that showed up to Christmas, and he was showing us the pocket knives that he had made for himself and his dad and his two brothers, and he had bought some kit knives from someplace, and I thought, man, that's cool. That's something I'd like to do. And then I spent the next few years, I'd save up a little money because I was a newlywed, and I was broke as all get out. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're praying
Yes,
that
sir.
we can get some ramen by the end of the week, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I'd scrape up a little money, and I'd order me a little kit knife, and I'd make it, and somebody'd see it, and they're like, "Hey, you want to sell that?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's cool," and I'd sell it for $50, and it was they were the most god awful, ugly things you've ever laid your eyes on. It was horrible, and I was using a bench grinder with stones on it. It was the most. I mean, it was rough, buddy. I'm telling
I
you, it was
bet.
rough. I didn't know anything about abrasives. I didn't know anything about any of it, and I did that for a couple years. And I just there was days I'd get so frustrated with it, and that was about the time I learned that tools make a difference.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I went through probably that first couple years. I went through probably 4 or 5 Dremel tools. I just burned
I
them up,
bet. Burn them up. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I wore
Yeah.
them things out, and then I discovered the custom knife world,
Hmm.
and it was all downhill from there.
I bet.
I started getting Blade magazine in, and I started seeing all these guys, and eventually, what happened is every time I'd get a new magazine in, I'd see Johnny Stout, Johnny Stout, Johnny Stout, and some of the most beautiful knives
Mm-hmm.
I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's got such an impeccable talent. It just blows me
Amazing.
away. And so I called him because I have personal boundary issues, and so I found his number, called him, and and he was delight to talk to. In fact, I got to see him last year at the Belleville show, and I was talking to him, just some kid that didn't know anything about knife making. He took 30 minutes out of his time just to answer some questions. And the reason I called him is because I had ordered a Damascus blade and I didn't know how to etch it. So probably not the best question to call and ask one of the premier knife makers in the world. But like I said, personal boundary issues. And he said, where are you at? And at the time I was living in a little town called Monahans, Texas, outside just about 30 miles from Odessa, where I was raised. And he said, one of the best knife makers that I've ever known is about 30 minutes from you. I said,
Oh,
really?
okay.
He said, yeah, you need to give him a call. Here's his personal number. And it was
There's those
Dwayne.
boundary issues again.
Yeah. He had them too, apparently. So that's probably why I answered the phone.
Yeah.
He's like, I get it. So I called Dwayne, and this is what made me fall in love with the industry. Really was I called Dwayne and I asked him, about Damascus. I didn't know you had to etch it. I didn't know what ferric chloride was. I didn't know any of it. I was just completely green. And he said, so what are you using? At the time, I was using one of them 4 by 36 belt sanders from
Yeah.
Harbor Freight.
That's a tough
And
go right there.
here's the thing: that thing's still running in my shop today. I've used it in the last couple of weeks. And, I got my $40 out of it. I guarantee.
Oh.
It's been modified a few times, but. He asked me what grinder I was using. I told him. He said, "Oh, you're going to need to eventually get something a little bit better than that." And I'm like, "Okay, sure."
You think?
Like, well, so he said, "Hey, when might you be able to come to my shop?" And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He said, let's pick a Saturday. You can come out." And he was working for the sheriff's department at the time, and we set up a date. I went out. I spent 8 hours in his shop.
Man, awesome.
Never met him before.
Wow.
Had one phone conversation.
Yep.
And when I left there, he left me. He gave me the grinder that I'm using today.
And it's
He
something.
had built it. He built it in 1978. I was
Darn.
built in
Wow.
1977. So if that tells you anything, it weighs about 300 pounds. And we've had our differences over the years, but it's still what runs. Joey knows, he's used it before.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's why Joey doesn't want to come work in my shop. He wants me to come work in his shop. But that's the kind of person that my mentor was.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my best, or trying to do my best to turn around and do that. And I think that's what a lot of this is about, is just wanting to be able to pour back into our industry, because there's guys out there that don't know anything about what we do and how we do it, and where to get this and how to do that. And man, if we can pour into the next generation, if we can pour into each other, man, we build each other up, man, then nothing's going to stop us.
That's
We're
right.
unstoppable. Yep.
And I think that's really the idea and the the mentality behind what we're trying to do is
Yep.
is just build the industry, but build people in the process. And if we can build people, man, that's an amazing thing. So somebody took the time to build me up. So
Well, that's the thing about makers that I found. I came from the wood turning world, and I know going to a club. We had clubs here. We got 25 clubs in the state of Florida, wood turning clubs. And I had the opportunity to go to a lot of these clubs and demonstrate and teach. But the thing about wood turning is the people are so giving. It's like knife making. I mean, I would call somebody and say, "Hey, how do you make a pepper mill?" And the guy said, "Why don't you just come over? I'll show you how to do it." So I'd go over and he'd show me how to do it. How you do a hollow form? Well, come on down. I drive an hour and a half, but he would show me exactly what the tools I used. I needed, how to do it, every process, and didn't charge me a dime. I mean, they were so giving in the and usually go home with a boatload of wood too, man.
Yeah.
As I started teaching other people, I had 3 or 4 or 5 guys that I personally taught. And they would come to my house, and then because I knew I had wood, they say, "Hey, you got this," and I just send them home with a pickup truck half full of, whatever we have down here in Florida. But yeah, it's the good thing about the makers, most makers, and everything I've seen, like knife making, leather, wherever. It's people are very generous with their knowledge and their time. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
But
Well, gentlemen, you got something else you want to share with the world?
We just like to tell everybody to, give us a like and a follow.
Yep.
Visit our social media platforms, and we'll hopefully we'll get this going, and it's gonna be one heck of a journey. I can't wait for it.
yeah, I'm excited about meeting new people, helping people.
Absolutely. And we're going to be having another episode here pretty quick. And we decided the first topic we're going to tackle is one of the most controversial and one of the biggest topics in the knife making industry, and that's blade steel.
Yep.
So I figure we're just going to hit the ground running and probably aggravate 90% of the people that are going to be listening to this. So, I'm super excited about it, guys. Thank you all for I'm glad we're all a part of this. We're all partnering together with this, and I'm looking forward to what God and what this has in store for us.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, like Mr. Joey Greatness Terrio said, go like and follow. We'll be on Spotify. We're gonna be on YouTube. We're gonna have several different platforms. You can find us wherever, and we'll be posting that, and we'll be getting the word out where you can find us, where you can give us a listen, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good week.
All right.
Nice talking to you.
Too.
See you.
All right, guys.
Bye.
See y'all guys later.